Good evening. This is Thursday, January 25th. I have 7:08 PM. This is the Board of Finance meeting. I'm going to start with call to order and roll call. Steve Kirsch,
Present.
Nick, I don't know how to say that.
Sentimentus.
Sentimentus.
Present.
Catherine Stoffer.
I'm present.
Spino is
Samantha
present.
Spino. First Selectman Terry Rooney. Present.
Present.
Joe Cobza,
Present.
Ron Banowski.
Present.
Okay, so everyone
Is
is,
Heidi here at all?
So Heidi is sick today,
Okay.
and Frank Duchess will not be attending, but I believe he included his treasury report in the packet for you.
okay. So I'm going to move along to approval of the regular meeting minutes and voting record for December 21st, 2023.
Steve Kirsch, I make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes and voting record for December 21st, 2023.
Do I have a second?
Catherine Stoffer, second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Next, we'll move on to communications for selectmen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to report, as we know, we're in the middle of budget season here. So I have met with all the department heads to go over their budgets. So we will be continuously working on that. We have to have the budget ready for February 8th. We did receive the Board of Education's budget, which we know is now at 715. So we have a lot of work to do. But that is where we are at this time. Thank you.
Okay,
Rebecca, I have a few items that I'd like to bring up and talk to the first selectman about. I had sent an email to Mike to let him know that I wanted to bring this up. I don't know if he forwarded it to you, Terry. The first item is that the Town Council Strategic Planning Committee met on January 10th and distributed and discussed the package of capital projects. I was able to attend the first 45 minutes and got a copy of the package. And I believe that all the Board of Finance members should get a copy now rather than waiting till we're into the throes of that. And so I had asked Mike to either ask you, or I would ask you tonight to, or Ron, to whoever, to provide copies for the Board of Finance.
Yeah, that's easy. I did not see that email, but I'll take care of that.
No, because I sent it to Mike, so if he's been tied up, you might not have. The second thing, Terry, that I'd like to bring up is last year at this time, we had the Board of Finance discussed having a second joint meeting with the Town Council. Because when we got to the end of the budget process that we were working on, and we started talking about changes you would like to make, Mike and other members felt that we didn't want to make those changes absent a conversation with the Town Council.
Mhm.
So that we're not at odds or, no hard feelings or whatever. And so the discussion and agreement was we need to add that as part of the budget process, meeting dates into this year. So I know you're probably working on a calendar. I don't know if you've had any conversation with Mike, whether we do it as part of an existing meeting or in front of, Town Council hosts the one at the beginning. We would host the one at the end.
I mean, just as far as the calendars go, I think council's gonna set their calendar when the budget goes to them, and Board of Finance, the same, won't set their calendar
until after, yeah.
They get the budget.
Okay, so it's a question of how far out the dates, how soon the dates get set, or
Yeah,
put
I
on
mean,
paper.
I guess they could be set before, but typically they're not.
Okay, so
There's still time, and I'm thinking to myself, nope.
somebody go on mute.
Yeah.
But again, I wanted to bring that up. We have new person and obviously a new first selectman. So this is, I'm sure, the first you've heard of that. The other thing, each year we've been talking about roads, and Mike had mentioned that he wrote to someone on the town council a few months ago. Mike Manchos.
Okay, just checking.
No problem.
Mike's.
Yeah, I should say.
Gotta be clear.
You're right. And what I would like to propose to this body is that we maybe bring in the VHB representative. That's the company that does the road study, that did the road study. And then at the end of 22 and presented to the town council in early 23. And it would give us an opportunity to hear firsthand, review the report and get a chance to ask the experts questions that we never, that we never get a chance to do. We just talk about how much money, we think we should fund or not fund, and how to fund it. So that's a suggestion.
Mr. Kirsch, you are one of the few people that attend council on a regular basis. Were you at the council several months ago when they were there?
I was there.
Because
so
they did come and give an update as to where the road conditions were. So you were there for that?
I was.
So you'd like to have that same thing again, an update
For this body.
for the budget season type
Yeah,
analysis?
yes.
Okay,
And nobody else in this room was present.
okay.
Even though I was there and present, I wasn't allowed to ask any questions.
No, I think for the citizens of the town that have a lot of road concerns, I think it's great to have that.
Okay,
Yeah, I
So
don't
that's-
have a problem with that at all,
Thank you.
because the graphs are very much in our favor on how the roads are being taken care of, so that would be great. Thank you.
okay. So
So
those are good.
typically, we meet with the department head. So you're saying you want to meet directly with the consulting
I'd like
company?
to have them come in and brief us before, or, I mean, I'm not saying don't have the department heads in the, but
Yeah,
As far as the road study
as far as
goes.
the road study goes.
Okay.
So then because I'm pretty sure you all probably have not read the road study. I know none of you were in council chambers the night it was presented.
right.
So I think it would be useful to understand what they're suggesting, ask them questions firsthand. Again, just my idea. I know I've talked to Mike, not about this particular, but about roads in general. And it shouldn't be too hard and I suggest, bring them in the February meeting, keep it out of the budget cycle.
I could also, if you like, I could get a copy of the previous road study that the Board of Finance could look at
Yeah, that might be-
previous to that meeting, and then if you feel that you still need to bring them in, then you can suggest that at that point. I don't know that there's gonna be a drastic change from when they did the study to now, but if the Board of Finance did miss that, I have no problem with getting that study to the Board of Finance for their review. And then at that point, they can decide if they need to go a step further and bring them in. I mean, that's just.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you send it out, we can do that. My thought process.
But
was-
that study basically supports what the department head is going to propose in Terry's budget, right?
Yes.
So it's
Yeah,
redundant.
it could
Right.
have more than what gets proposed, or it could have more than what Terry puts forward on February the 8th.
Okay.
Historically, that report has contained recommendations to spend more than the town has spent to get to a certain level of condition.
Okay,
Yeah, so if you can send that
following.
out,
Yeah.
but my suggestion, just in looking at the calendar, and the reason I brought it up tonight, is if we wanted to have them come, because again, we only normally meet once a month, we could invite VHB for our February meeting
Mhm.
and have them present, and, it's a very quick presentation and ask questions, and then we would have that behind us before we get into the meetings that are, budgetary in nature, because our next meeting would be in March. And at that point, we're into our budget workshops and stuff.
Would it be advantageous to have the department head here for that as
Sure.
well?
That's absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine, yeah.
I think from a finance perspective, I would just want to find out if there's any kind of added fee. Is this outside the scope of what they?
Oh,
Right.
that's a good question.
Yeah.
right.
Okay,
I don't know that.
yeah, that's why I'm just bringing it up. I'll let the first selectman, run with it.
I think in
If there's
general-
no objection, I mean, that's,
Yeah, I think getting the study makes perfect sense, and then just being able to like digest it and discuss it even amongst ourselves, and then if it is expensive or there's a fee associated with having them come out, we can always just provide a list of questions that we can present and it just,
But it almost feels like we're sidestepping process. Like you're going above that department to have them come in when we should be going to the department to understand his strategy first.
we can bring them in.
For why he's
simultaneously.
not.
Well, I'm not saying whether he's
No.
doing anything good, bad, or indifferent.
Mhm.
Hearing the experts and hearing them tell you how they've measured the roads and hearing them talk about suggestions. I mean, one of the things that they suggested, which was new, is that we start doing core samples of roads. And that would be something to talk to him about. It would also be something to talk to our DPW director about. There were some other things that were sort of just mentioned in passing at the meeting. We talked about, maybe going and looking at different companies that do automated surveying of roads. There are companies that do it electronically, right? A vehicle thing as opposed to having people walking and surveying the roads and writing it down and doing all that stuff. So there were a few other things that weren't necessarily in the report, but that were in his commentary. And I'm assuming got captured in the meeting, but in any case, we talk about
Okay.
roads each year, and I think we tend to be at a disadvantage. That's maybe not the right word, but we have less information as a body than, the town council or the strategic planning committee that, gets this stuff firsthand.
And as a newish member, there are a few of us, right? I think it would be helpful to kind of just get educated. on how
Yeah,
it
for our
works.
own knowledge.
Yeah, not even
Mhm.
necessarily like to go, why are you doing that? Why aren't you doing that? Like, let me understand that. Just like, oh, this is understanding the basis for why they make those decisions, I think is helpful to have us be even more supportive of a budget together. So I think it makes sense, from my perspective.
So
I'll start by getting the previous road study to everybody. And then at that point, maybe all of you make a decision if you really do need to talk to them, because they will be in for another conversation, probably after budget season, probably early summer. And we go from there, I guess, start there, right?
Good, fair enough.
Because in this way, that brings everybody up to speed, they know where we are. And then you could actually make a move from there. So my marching orders are to get that road study for you, and what's the other one? Just give me the quick marching order, so I.
And the other one was the
Capital package.
Capital package.
For SBC,
Yeah, from SBC. Yeah.
okay. Is that all? That's an easy one. Thank you.
My requests generally aren't hard, they're just. Whatever they are.
Okay, so moving on to Superintendent Joe, do you have your update?
Everybody, yeah, just obviously, the Board of Education adopted their budget last Thursday, 7.15% as first selectman indicated. Just to give you kind of a little bit of a Reader's Digest version, without going into great detail. I'm just kind of looking at a few of my numbers, just one slide. Obviously a lot of pressure points on the budget this year. First and foremost being, and we've talked about this now for multiple years, was we've used our grant money, the ESSER, it was originally the Coronavirus Relief Fund, then it was ESSER 2 grants, and then it was ARP ESSER grants. That ARP ESSER was the last of the grants. That rolls off next year. We had about 6 staff members, currently in the ARP ESSER grant. So we're rolling off $697,000 of ARP ESSER this year. So, basically, we come out of the gate with a point just within the ARP ESSER elimination. Obviously, I know I've talked to this group about this in the past too. We continue to face enrollment increases. We've talked about the stress at the elementary levels. Before our last meeting, I calculated it's really amazing. I keep going back to the year 2018-19 because Monroe Public Schools experienced decreasing enrollment from, I think, somewhere around like 2008 all the way to 2018. There was decreasing enrollment. We were able to reduce staff accordingly because obviously the number of students going down. It was a really nice period. 2018-19 was the last year that enrollment decreased. From then, it has increased every year. To give you an idea though, from 2018-19 to today, we've gained 374 students in the Monroe Public Schools. And to put that into perspective, that's more students than we have in K through 5 at Monroe Elementary. Now, they all didn't go to the elementary school. That's spread out across 13 grades, obviously K to 12, but 374 kids. I tell you right now, we have enrolled. It was almost, and it's probably at about 100 now. We have 100 more kids enrolled right now than we did last year at October 1st, which is the one of the two official times that the census is taken for enrollment. So that definitely continues to be a pressure point for us. We're hoping to get a little relief with kindergarten, with the change in the kindergarten age. We do have a waiver process for families if their children were born after September 1st on how they get into school. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but there was a change in the birthday. It used to be January 1 was the cutoff. Now it's September 1. We do have, last time I checked, there was about 32 families looking for a waiver to have their kids who were born after September 1 be enrolled in kindergarten. Like I said, it's the elementaries that has been the biggest stress. I know I've talked about the issues at Fawn Hollow. Even Monroe Elementary, we gave up our conference room a couple of years ago for that to become an art room. Stepney, all of them have increased pretty significantly. The other thing, and I know this is where we'll continue to work with as we get numbers in with either the first selectman or if it's past the first selectman, the Board of Finance, and that's health insurance. We were told to budget at 15%. So our budget assumed a 15% increase in premiums for health insurance. I'm pretty confident it's going to be lower than that. We're waiting for a hard number, and I know we have another conversation with our broker again tomorrow to talk about some other strategies that we like. Whatever we can do to get this down, we're going to try to get it down. And then obviously, Jen Parcell comes here with me, occasionally. Obviously, we have continuing, escalation of costs in special education, and either primarily in the tuition lines and the transportation. So those are kind of the big challenges and assumptions that we're facing right now. I just wanted to give you kind of the Reader's Digest version of where we are.
So Joe, I know the
Yes.
answer to this question is, but I think the board would be interested to know, of your 7.15%, the contractual number, or to put it a different way, how much of that 7.15% is
I think
discretionary?
it was less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
Yeah. That was.
And Joe, can you remind me, when was Chalk Hill closed?
2010, 11.
I can tell you,
2010, 11?
it was right around then, yeah. My
Okay.
daughter was
Yep.
going to the 8th grade.
Okay,
Her 8th grade year was the year.
just trying to factor
Yeah.
some of the numbers into the enrollment.
So remember that Chalk Hill, when they closed it, then they created STEM because they couldn't fit everybody, and STEM was supposed to be at Massac for 3 or 4 years. Before
Right.
theoretically, it was gonna go all back to Yaki Hollow, and here we are 14 years later, and
It's still there.
it's still there.
Yeah.
There's no way it's gonna go back. now,
No.
The numbers that we're at. We do have we're in the, I know we've talked about the facility study before. We do have a few companies coming in to do presentations to the selection committee to pull together to start looking at, what do we do with our facilities with enrollment, with demography and everything.
Okay,
And of course, that study will not be ready for
No.
this budget at all, so.
Okay.
Would rezoning help at all with alleviating some stress at certain schools, or is it just like across the
It's
board?
really across the board. Yeah, we've talked about this before. It's, you know, if you look at just, you know, sheer section sizes, Monroe Elementary tends to have the better section sizes in terms of like class size, excuse me. But Monroe L is also the smallest school. So, you know, you take, you know, 9 kids from one school and put it there. Now, they only have 3, you know, they only have 3 sections per grade in every grade, whereas Von Hollow has 5 in every grade except kindergarten and second grade that has 6. You know, another 6 in kindergarten next year at Von Hollow. I don't know. I mean, it's just, I really don't know. I'm hoping we get a little relief with the kindergarten aides, that some families will say, oh, you know, we'll keep our kids and wait a year, and that will keep us at 5 sections again. I wasn't anticipating 6 this year in kindergarten at Von Hollow, but we got it. We had 6 in second grade, and that one was kind of to be expected because that was the group of kids that started right after COVID. So it's like if you were a parent of a 5-year-old in the year that we're gonna go back with mass, and some kids are gonna be, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, you know, whatever, we had hybrid and Wednesdays off, you might have kept your child out. That was that next year. So we saw like a little bubble, but then it kind of went back the next year. But then again, this year, we had another section size of 6, so at Von Hollow. But to answer your question, there's really at none of the schools there's no space.
Yeah.
It's really.
Just basically like the long-term additions or
We're
renovations
gonna
to
have
existing
to.
schools, and maybe at that point you focus on Stephanie and you rezone there, because that's
Yeah.
the school that's getting expanded, just
Yeah,
making it up, but like
Yeah.
something to that effect.
could be, yeah.
Okay,
But the companies that are coming in for the facility study, that's after budget season.
Well, they're gonna come in, but that study will take
Yeah.
months.
Obviously, nothing is happening this time around, but just for timeline.
In terms of, they'll come in, they'll probably do a study, I'm assuming anywhere from 4 to 8 months.
Okay,
And then they'll have recommendations for us,
okay.
so. we'll see what that-
Look, we had 4 people respond to the study. We're interviewing them just after the first selectmen's budget gets presented, so it's 2 weeks out.
Okay, all right.
And that's just to select the committee,
Mhm.
then we have to put together the master planning committee, which will be a much bigger committee. I asked this body for, representation, town council, we'll have probably, administrative teacher, that's a much bigger committee.
I mean, Steve's representing the
Yeah.
board on the selection.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, next up, the quarterly fire department reports.
Yeah, so those are, as in prior months, those are just in your packet for review. If you have any questions or, I could certainly take them and pass them along to the respective fire department. Those are pretty good, so. You?
I had no questions.
Anybody else have any questions, comments?
No.
All right, next up, public participation. No one in the room. Was there anyone on the phone that would like to speak? None of this? All right, so we'll move on to new business. So Ron,
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, so.
I didn't bring a motion for this, but I didn't know what it was.
What's that? Yeah, so we received, in the past, we've received money for settlements of the town. I believe this one is a zoning settlement of some type. We received $19,000. It's a I believe it was payment number 1 in the settlement. And typically what we've done with the legals, there's no requirement to do it, but in the past, this board has put those legal settlement funds aside in a legal reserve in the general fund in case it's ever needed for, potential unknown reasons. We've got money, I don't have the balance offhand, but there is money sitting on the, in the general fund, in the reserve of the general fund right now. So the thought in the past, I think was, I mean, it could just sit in the other, if no action is taken, it's miscellaneous income in the general fund and it just collapses into the fund balance of the general fund if no action is taken.
Okay, so my first question on it, based on our meetings up to this point, it looks like we're going to have surplus money this year. We're gonna, revenues up. And that's what we're tracking. So just putting it in the general fund to sit there isn't necessary. We're not gonna need it.
Correct.
So, okay. So I would be happy to make a motion to move it to the legal reserve. So I move that we authorize $19,000 of legal settlement funds received in this fiscal year be moved to the legal reserve account.
On a second.
Oh,
Are you
I said you
asking?
second it, I'll second.
Okay.
Excuse me.
I don't think there's any
Any-
questions or discussion.
I have one question. You said
Sure.
it was the first in a series of payments, is that right?
I believe there's at least one other payment.
Okay.
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 Okay, real estate suspense recommendations.
Okay.
I don't know if you actually voted on that yet. did you?
No.
Oh,
we do.
sorry.
That's all right.
So then,
Just all in favor of it.
yeah, so all in favor to commit the 19,000 of legal settlement funds to the legal reserve account.
Aye.
I,
Okay. So motion passes.
Madam Chair, I came prepared with 4 motions for the next 4 items. I had sent them to Mike and I had copied Ron and Heidi so that they have them for their record.
Okay,
And I will read them in order if you're ready for that. And
yes,
these are all
yes, and thank you for doing that, Steve.
And these are all pursuant, obviously, to Deborah Heim's letters.
Okay,
So new business, item B, real estate suspense recommendations. Resolved in accordance with section 12-165 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the list of real estate delinquent taxes totaling $122.59 as identified by the tax collector's letter of January 10, 2024, be placed in suspense as they are deemed uncollectible on the tax records, and that the full list be incorporated into the minutes of this meeting. These are properties the town acquired and are now owned by the town of Monroe.
I second.
Okay,
Wait,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, so there is a question that occurred offline before the meeting about the publication of the data that is in these lists. And historically, we've published them in both this board's package and in the minutes, but it's been raised that at least on one of these items, there is personally identifiable information that should not be released publicly. And
Mhm.
Catherine said she would look over the list and tell us,
Mhm. So there's on
was there
these,
any for this one?
not for this, this is just this first page, this front account, which is owned by the town of Monroe and
Okay,
is exempt.
so that doesn't apply to this motion.
okay,
Okay,
okay, so you second,
Mhm.
okay. So then,
All in favor?
all in favor? Aye,
aye.
okay, so that passes.
Okay. Item 5, new business, item 5C, personal property suspense recommendations. Resolved in accordance with section 12-165 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the list of personal property delinquent taxes totaling $83,347.19 as identified by the tax collector's letter of January 10, 2024, be placed in suspense as they are deemed uncollectible on the tax records, and that the full list be incorporated into the minutes of this meeting. This is not an abatement of taxes, and every effort will be made to collect them.
I second. And there is nothing in here that is not subject to the Freedom of Information Act.
Okay, thank you.
So do we publish that afterwards?
Yeah,
So.
Because
Mr. First Selectman?
Yes.
Yeah, so, these were held out of the packet.
Mhm.
Names, addresses of the, credits, the abatements being given.
Mhm.
Things added to the suspense list as a result of the cyber, internal meeting we had,
Yeah,
where if it's not necessary to put someone's name and address on the, website, you know, so I
Mhm.
erred on the side of caution there.
Yeah.
Even if it is FOIable,
okay,
because there have been issues where people finding addresses or, you know,
got it.
yes, it is all FOIable. But
Okay.
putting it on the website makes it awfully easy
Easy,
for somebody
yeah,
to grab
Mhm.
information that maybe they aren't
Mm.
using it.
You'd have to go grab it in a PDF inside the board pack for the next meeting, but
Still possible, still
Still possible.
easier than coming to town hall and requesting the list.
There was a period about 10 years ago, we had copies of checks in there and
oh, yeah.
information was grabbed off it.
Yeah,
in recent months, there have been many situations where people have put their houses into trust and that has been scrubbed. So, to take some of those necessary precautions and the conditions that we're dealing with in the tech world, I think we should to protect our citizens. And I think that's a good idea, Ron. So thank you.
Okay, so can I have all in favor?
Aye.
all right. Aye.
Okay, so motion passes. So the next one, I think, is motor vehicles.
So are we saying at this point, Ron, we're not gonna publish any list regardless?
I am not planning on publishing those lists on,
Okay,
Okay,
I mean, they're available here if somebody wants to, you know, come into town hall and look at them, they're. I think as we all know, the internet, it isn't only necessarily people in Monroe or in this country looking at it, so.
okay. I will strike that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, but the advice was what, you know,
Okay, so that really means going forward, there's no public record of associated with this.
Well, it is public record, it's just not online. So it will get filed with the town clerk, I think, and it'll be in the tax collector's office.
that is correct.
So if anybody wanted to come in and see the suspense list,
It's available. Okay.
it's available.
Okay.
It's available for public inspection.
Okay.
There are,
Okay,
yep,
all right, then we'll strike that. Okay, item 5, new business, item 5D, motor vehicle suspense recommendations. Resolved in accordance with section 12-165 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the list of motor vehicles and motor vehicle supplemental delinquent taxes totaling $84,476.46 as identified by the tax collector's letter of January 10, 2024, be placed in suspense as they are deemed uncollectible on the tax record. This is not an abatement of taxes, and every effort will be made to collect them.
I will second that. This list of motor vehicles, the breakdown of accounts has information that is not subject.
Info.
Yes, so I
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
mark it.
Yeah. 'cause
I'll
that
mark
should be
just this
redacted.
first account, just to show what needs to be
Redacted.
taken out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
that,
Yeah, I spoke to Deborah today very briefly, and she did say if there was stuff, it could be redacted, and so that would be the appropriate thing, would be to redact it and then file it.
Are there VIN numbers on this?
there are,
There's license plates and VIN
Mm.
numbers on something else.
there are license plates and VIN numbers, but I think that.
I think the problem with VIN numbers is they can,
That would be a question for someone other than myself.
data privacy,
Yeah, because although, it could still be
traceable.
freedom of information, if someone goes in and asks for a tax
I
account.
think the problem is like with newer cars.
Yeah.
Self-driving cars, the cars can be hacked with the VIN number, I believe. And I think that's part of the.
Okay, I mean, in terms of personal security, I understand that. But I do think that this could still be available if somebody wanted to get a printout of
It's out there.
somebody's account.
Yeah. Just we're starting to slowly, when I say slowly, creep into the protections of things that we know exist. I think we have to do our due diligence in the area of cyber. There's been many incidences that aren't necessarily publicized that do exist. And we run the risk of having impact from anywhere across the world. Okay, so we're creeping into that understanding. It's a difficult thing for a municipality or any municipalities to grasp, but it's a reality. And I think it's very important that we look at doing our due diligence to protect our citizens from threats that most of them may not even know exist. And Ron, I wasn't aware that some of these movements were happening. I'm glad to see that we're slowly looking into that stuff. We definitely have to make sure we're not violating charter or state regulations, things of that nature. But also some of those things make information necessary to produce. Some of this information can be used. So without saying much more, I think you guys understand, I hope you understand that we're just living in a different world and we're a small town, but we always have to do our due diligence, even if our citizens don't understand.
I think in these things, where we're doing things according to statute, it might be a good idea to have the town attorney.
No, yes.
Look at this to tell us, because I haven't gone out and read this statute myself. Because I wasn't thinking in those terms, but if the statute was to say the list needs to be published, then.
No, 100%.
then we've got a different issue,
Yes.
But I don't think the publishing would come out of this, it would probably come from the, tax
No, I
collector's
mean-
office.
I mean, it's not just here, but town council, I mean, when there are lists of refunds that the town council approves, for taxes, those are all enumerated and have always been made part of the record.
Yeah.
Right, so it's been in the packet going in, it's been in the minutes coming out. Not saying that the security isn't appropriate, in fact, I agree that it may very well be. But I think for all of these, and I don't think it's just limited to the Board of Finance, we need to find out for these various motions that are standard motions with referencing state statute, we better understand what the statute calls for. So,
It's a slow progression.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
very,
but
very,
but again.
you can't, with these things, you can't eat the elephant in one day.
No.
But we have to, be vigilant and, also we'll make sure that, moving forward that all of this, I believe you've done your due diligence with this, Ron. I trust that, we haven't violated anything here. But moving forward, we'll make sure that doesn't happen and slowly creep into, protecting our citizens from this modern world that we're living in. Thank you, Steve.
Yep, okay, so there is, sorry.
Okay, so
There is
all
a
in,
motion on the table.
yeah,
Okay.
so all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, motion passes.
Sure, correct me if I'm wrong, I think one example that was given though, I mean, if we put someone's name and address on and say there's some kind of protected water, that exists, and we're
Yeah.
freely giving that information to someone who, so.
Yeah, because there clearly are people whose names can be withheld, police officers and other things that are withheld even from voting rolls and stuff like that. So, if a police officer was delinquent and appeared on one of these lists, and again, however Deborah creates the list, she creates the list. I don't know what due diligence she does
Yeah.
against things like that.
That's good point.
But yeah, so there clearly are by statutes, things that people, entities that cannot be identified or can be withheld if you want to write it like that.
Like judges' names now.
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah,
Mhm.
police are the one that comes to mind. Okay, so
Old credit.
thank you. New
Yep.
business number 5E, old credit balances. Resolved in accordance with section 12-129 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the board does hereby approve and grant permission to the tax collector to remove old credit balances for the 2019 grand list in the total amount of $10,346.55 as requested by the tax collector's letter of January 10, 2024. These balances are non-refundable because requests for refunds were not filed in the tax office prior to the end of the 3 years from their due dates.
Catherine Stoffer, a second.
Any discussion, comments? Hearing none. All right, motion passes. Next up, we have review of the fiscal year 2024 financial reports.
Everything's, running fairly smooth right now. I don't know, I'll take questions. I guess starting with A and, A, B, and C in that order, so. Anyone have any questions on the town general fund? Which is here to A budget. Big stage.
No,
I didn't have anything.
Board of Ed. Fund activity statement.
not for me, it's second side of the out.
And nothing. At this point, everything is tracking okay.
Did we get the special ed payment?
The excess cost?
Yeah.
You got it.
If we did, we got,
Or, I don't know if we got, I think actually this first one, I know we got
we got the notification. Of
Yeah.
that. We should, I think we're projected to get around 750. That's my notes.
I don't know, like 7 days, but it's 7 days.
Did they tell
You
you?
get payment one at the end of this month.
Yeah, well, Ben said it was coming soon,
Yeah.
so I wondered. if-
I remember hearing it would be in the start of the new year,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Did the letter acknowledging that we're getting it tell us what the reimbursement percent rate was? 70%. Yay. That's better than some years.
Which is, well, no,
Well, it's down,
that's pretty, it was down from last year, but.
it's down from last year.
Yeah,
Last year.
70 is pretty much standard.
Oh,
That's the
yeah,
norm.
but yeah, it was supposed to be 100. I've lived here 30 years. It's never
It's
been
never
100.
been that.
Not in my 30 years of being a resident.
So included in your pack is also the quarterly trial balance report, which is taking the liquid fund activity statement for the board and all the funds for the town, so. And those are reported to you guys on a quarterly basis. So if you have any questions now on those, if you have any questions, on the speed, you can certainly shoot them my way and I'll go on to the next one.
Deb is not here tonight.
There
Yeah,
is
so-
the monthly report of the tax collector.
Her report's in there.
Yeah,
So the only thing I noted that on her pie charts and that stuff, the collected rate, even though it's as of December 29th, is, 61%, 57.7 and 70.2, so.
yeah, we're over half, which is where we want to be.
We're well over
I-
half and the rest should be pouring in this month.
I think the big gauge for her is gonna be her report next month.
Yeah.
Because people are paying taxes through the end of this month.
Right, just the fact that it was a bump from last month means people started paying in December, so they would get, I guess, so they get them in January.
Right.
So that's just goodness, that's all.
And then the treasurer?
Yeah, so there's.
It's not in
No,
the
in
packet.
here,
She sent it
okay.
out, I think in a. And that's the trial balance.
So in your second to last page of your packet, there's an email.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Yep, yep, it's on the back side.
he is so detailed.
So we are officially over recovered.
Yeah,
We have beat our budgetary income. And we're only half of the year, but
all good news. All right. Any other questions? Discussions?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
second.
Thank you.
Don't forget February 8th.